Hey everybody, we're going to take a little religious conversation here. Um, there are, I find that the more people try to talk me out of religion, the more I believe in religion. And the more people try to avoid the label of being religious, the more I want to be attached to religion. To me, religion is really simply, basically integrity. It's having a code of ethics, it's having a belief in something and applying that or learning how to apply that, improving your application on what you believe, or and improving uh, your knowledge of what to believe or your search for truth. And so, to me, religion is improvement. I guess. But anyway, I mean, there's these anti-religious forces that sit there and say, "Oh, well, religion is bad and religion is this and that." Okay. Um, Atheism is used as an excuse not to be religious, but it's a religious excuse used to absolve responsibility from oneself in this world. Now, at the same time, they also try to enforce a lot of responsibility. A lot of atheists try to make excuses to make people more applicable to to their goals. So they tend to get more uh, dogmatic socially. But they do it to avoid religion. They do it to be more secular or to be more uh, open-minded about the world and more natural. And so they say, well, and they make a lot of, they're really good at making excuses. I mean, atheism is an excuse more than it is a religion for a lot of people. They see it as, uh, and they don't like it being insulted. I don't really care. I've heard, uh, you know, 30 plus years of people ripping on religion and making excuses to not be Christian, and that's fine. But as many arguments and fights as I've had with my belief in God and everything, I don't see it as. I find that the religious people tend to be collectively more useful, more beneficial, more loving, and more kind than anything I'm seeing anybody in any other community be. Secularists, people, even the quote unquote Christians who are not religious. It's not about religion. It's about relationship, or or Islam is about, what do they say? It's about, it's a verb, it's about submission in Islam. Islam is about submission, and, everybody thinks they're not a religion. Um, and to me, I think the number one sign that a idea is a religion or a community of people are part of a religion is they think they're not part of a religion. There are actually three categories in my mind that make something a religion. They have an us versus the world mentality. They have a list of grievances that they know is wrong with the world, and then they all think they're not a religion. Number one sign is they all think they're not a religion. And everybody has it. Everybody wants it. And there are a lot of different religions. It's not just about your application in God. People are religiously attached to nationalism. They're religiously attached to a political party or political moderation. They're religiously attached to education. So if you go to school, go in there because you believe this is how you should be living your life. This, you believe this is how you have your responsibility to life. You are religiously devoted to your family and take responsibility for your family. There are good religions and there are bad religions. People who will join gangs as part of a bad religion. What else do I got to do? I've got, this gang is a good gang. They're part of a community. Oh, really? Okay. Um, People volunteer. That's part of your religion. You believe in volunteering. Right. But, um, part of my religious belief, my religion centers around trying to attach my faith, my Christianity, to Jesus and try to make as much of what I do in service to God as I possibly can. Uh, and I screw that up every day, if not every minute, because I'm learning. I'm a human. I'm growing. I'm a kid. I'm not going to get it right in this world. Neither are you. Nobody's ever going to get their religion right. But here's the crazy thing people have with God, with anti-religion. Anti-religion has done the damage. Hitler did not slaughter Jews because he was Christian or Catholic or because he was, he believed in God or didn't believe in God or whatever. Hitler didn't slaughter Jews because of what he believed. He didn't slaughter Jews and communists and gypsies because he was religiously German or religiously blonde or religiously believing in something. He didn't slaughter these people because they ate meat and he was a vegan. Although I'd like some more proof on whether or not his veganism did make him angry. But just saying, the evidence. Maybe if he had a steak once in a while. Anyway, no, Hitler didn't slaughter people because he was religiously in love with an idea, or even that he was religiously in favor of a group of people over another. He was religiously devoted to get rid of the religions of what other people were believing and how they were living their lives. That's why he went after gypsies. That's why he went after Jews. That's why he went after non-whites or non-blondes or whatever he was trying to slaughter. That's why he hated Americans. That's why he went for war. He was religiously attached to war. But it was really, he did not want people doing anything that he did not want them to do. And they were living lifestyles and they were doing things he did not like. And he was against their religions and their behaviors and their lifestyles. So he slaughtered them. Every tyrant has done this throughout history. Every terrorist organization has done this. It's always been a specific hatred for what other people were doing, how they were living, how they looked. It was always about a hatred for others. It was always about hating the churches, the communities, whether and they felt like everybody should live according to not what I want everyone to do, but according to what I want everybody to be doing. I don't want everybody to be living like, although I'll say I want everybody to live happy, wealthy like me. Reality is that if I'm a tyrant, I want to get rid of the people who refuse to obey what I want them to do or what I think they should be doing. It's an isolationist, segregationist philosophy that slaughters people. It is not the religion of community. It is not the religion of humility. It is not the religion of repentance or grievance or grace or any of that. Now, here's the concept of the atheist God that hates religion so much. Not only do they hate religion and the way other people are differently, I mean that's easy to love people for being different from that. But atheism takes it up a notch, and then they say this. They say this about God, trying to convince people not to worship God, which is kind of an unnatural logic for a group of people who claim to be so obsessed with attaching themselves to nature and what they can see with the world outside of. So let's go ahead and let's consider this unnatural logic here. Um, God created the earth. God created people. God created sin in people and the ability for people to disobey, so therefore God created sin. God created disease. He created cancers. He created bugs. He created, you know, the famines and all the tortures and chaos and punishments against this world, causing us suffering and misery and pain and agony. All right, cool. Created death. And then he creates heaven and hell. And if we don't follow him, he's this cruel God that throws us into hell. And so who does God think he is? Well, I think God thinks he's God. I don't know who you think you are in comparison to God that you think your little logic is going to overrule that. But I'm pretty sure between God and man, God has a right to create something and then destroy it. I draw pictures. I've thrown a lot of them out. I've deleted a lot of stories that I've written over the years, thrown out a lot of school assignments over the years. Oh, don't you love going to school? Don't you love how your life turned out? How can you be so ungrateful to this drawing you did in the third grade? Like that, I can throw it out. I can move on. I'm the creator. I'm allowed to do that. What's the problem? And then you have to make up another problem or you have to say something about pollution or something to make me feel guilty about throwing out my own work. You have to really go out of your way to make me feel guilty about throwing out my own work. But then you get God, right? So here we go. We got this logic they put on God about this cruel, ma- malevolent, creature that's just hateful and spiteful, creates people only to destroy them. And if this creature exists, then it's a cruel, evil creature, and I don't want anything to do with it because it's so mean. Okay. Don't have any responsibility to it because it's so mean. It creates death. Oh, does it? Okay. Now I can apply that logic to God if I'm an atheist. That's cool. Now that's assuming that God exists. If God doesn't exist, then what? Then what do I do? I say this. I say, all right, I got this nature that has created me, and I'm gonna live for a time on Earth, and I'm gonna enjoy my time on Earth, and then I'm gonna die. And as I'm living, I'm gonna try to be a good person. And a good person will take care of the responsibilities of all that came before him and try to help his community. A good person is especially going to fight pollution, help nature, grow things on Earth, and prevent global warming and all that stuff because I have a responsibility to the nature that brought me into the world and cared for me and fed me and helped me fight diseases and all that. Isn't it also the same nature that created those diseases that you have to fight? Isn't it also the same nature that starved people to death, that created wars, that created violence in animals and humanity, that created predators to be chased by us and prey to be chased, or prey to be chased by us and predators to chase us? Isn't it the same nature that created burns and frostbites? Isn't it the same nature that freezes and burns people to death, that disintegrates people. It's the same nature that explodes and destroys entire planets and ruins, I mean, commits not just genocide, but extinction. You can hate God for all that cruelty, but when it comes to nature, all of a sudden I have a responsibility to love it and to care for it and to go out of my way to feel this responsibility to this nature that hates me and destroys me faster than God would. I don't have a responsibility to God if He created me because He'll send me to hell. But I do have a responsibility to nature that created me and then is just going to decay me and deteriorate me. I have a responsibility to love that because nature is my mother. Seems to me like we've misdirected our anger at the wrong source. The difference between the atheist and the Christian. And the atheist comes up there and they say, okay, you have to honor all that came before you and all this morals and all these people that sacrificed for you and all these things, right? Because that was your natural responsibility. That is what happened. That is how you were made. Okay, all right, I'll give you that. I have to give you that as a Christian. I have to agree with all that because that is what Christianity teaches. But then this concept of being a good person and all these good people and memorizing being grateful for all that nature has bestowed upon us and all that has been bestowed upon us in this world that we can see, that is a Christian concept. What's not a Christian concept is that that responsibility is limited to visibility or to experience or to sensibility. That concept goes supernatural to a heavenly Father that commanded nature into existence, commanded us into existence, and spent years upon years of obeying commands from God to make each individual person. The difference between the atheist attachment to responsibility to nature and the Christian responsibility to God is the Christian responsibility to God comes with grace. It comes with forgiveness. It comes with second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh chances. 77 times 77 chances. 77 times 7 chances. That's the difference between natural responsibility and supernatural responsibility is one offers grace. Nature says what? The atheist says, okay, I can forgive. Yeah, you can forgive selectively. Christianity says you can be forgiven, but don't deserve it. And so we sit up there and say, well, how am I can be forgiven if I don't deserve it? I mean, how can I be forgiven? What do I have to do? You don't get to do anything. God does all the forgiving. You got to be persuasive to God to convince him that you are willing to live and change your life based on this gift that God offers. Nature doesn't offer forgiveness. You kill somebody, nature ain't going to bring it back. You kill God's son, he'll come back and tell you, peace be with you. You kill a son's father, the son will seek revenge. You kill God's son, he'll come back and seek peace. He'll seek change. You can commit genocide, and Christ will come in and forgive you while you're doing it. It's happened in the Soviet Union. They would throw people into the frozen water, and people will willingly refuse to recant their Christianity, and they'll go in and jump in like it's a baptism, only to inspire guards to follow suit and jump in with them because they don't want to be part of what the cruel, cold inhumanity of nature, that the obsession with greed, the obsession with consumption, the obsession with bitterness and rage has put into the hearts of the tyrants. Tyranny likes to eradicate ideology that is alternative to their own. And religion likes to expand the opportunity for ideology. It is religion that feeds off of alternative ideology because in order for the religion to grow, it has to go where it does not exist. So in order for religion to grow, it has to be it has to have access to people it has never met before or people who have never really understood it. So religion depends on liberty, but tyranny depends on slavery. How do you make slavery happen? You force everybody to believe the same lie. And so they come up there and they say this, hey, we got this. So tyrants will find people who refuse to buy into the tyranny, refuse to buy into the global popularity. And then the tyrants will come in and slaughter the innocent. Why? Because they hate the religion of the innocents. They're afraid of what religion can do because religion is scary. It can change the world. It can also be used as an excuse for further tyranny and further slavery. Because when a religion gets big enough, it starts becoming dim. It starts becoming kind of dark and it starts lowering its light on people. And so religion gets to become part of a cult of anti-religion. It becomes a cult of, I need to get rid of what other people think. Because once they gain enough power, they don't want to lose it. So what do we do with it? But you remember what religion is. You remember this. You are not meant to go to sleep. You're not meant to just be woke. You are meant to be a part of a rise movement. You're meant to be risen. You are meant to be resurrected, raised from the dead. You are not meant to just be, all right, I'm woke. Well, being woke doesn't mean anything. I mean, you could be woke and be sleeping, sitting in your bed looking at your cell phone or reading a book or just sitting there. I want to get out of bed today. You could be woke and just be getting ready still. But if you rise, you'll be on your way. You rise, you'll free slavery. If you rise, you will speak out against tyranny. You shut down the Uyghur camps. Here's the thing is this. People are kind of scared of what might happen in the near future. It might be a civil war. It might be a war with China, war with Russia. So bring it all on. Why? Because it's going to change the world. It's going to open the doors for people to start actually giving a care about each other. So I said, bring it. That's what I want. I don't want the war. I don't want the violence, but I want the change. And so if it means we got to tear everything apart temporarily in order to finally go out and set about on our mission to do what is right, then I want to be part of it. I want to be, if we go to war with China, this is the thing. USA is not going to win as a government. But what would happen is this. China, we're going to send Americans over to China and we're going to start going into the countrysides and into the rural areas and we're going to start going into the camps and we're going to start planting ideas of liberty into people's mouths and into people's heads. We're going to start going, hey, there was a time we created this nation based on overthrowing governments just like this, and it was awesome. We took on the whole world multiple times building these kind of, destroying governments just like the one China has operating. And so what you might do, China might win a war over the US government only to send Americans into their country or only to have Americans start speaking ideas and spreading ideas of freedom as China sends their people over to oppress Americans, even or however that might work. I'm just going through a worst case scenario, China winning the war, of course, but eventually word of mouth is going to go back to the countryside of China, and eventually religion is going to go light up into people, and we're going to go in and go, yeah, you know what? The camps, the Holocaust camps, the Uyghur camps, the gulags, that is outrageous. Yeah, they were called the re-education camps. Oh yeah, that is brutal. And eventually, their wicked governments get overthrown in Russia and China again, no matter what. I mean, I know Putin's trying to bring back the Soviet Union, but we also know what the Soviet Union did. We know better than anybody what the Soviet Union was like and how many lies they spread. We know because we're hearing the lies now, but we haven't forgotten. I mean, we lived at the same time as the Soviet Union. People who are older than me have. I was there at the very end, too young to recognize what it was at the time it existed. But I'm not too young and immature to do some homework and to recognize when an NKVD psycho is trying to bring it back. I'm not too young to recognize that Hitler started off as a spy working for the German government. And some of the games and some of the propaganda that, where he got his ideas. And I say that about tyrants to know that, okay, bring it. Because what's going to end up happening is you're going to collect a bunch of victims together in one camp, a bunch of victims together in one place, and you can slaughter the innocent. And then guess what's going to happen? Inside of those camps, inside of those places, there's going to be a desire for rebellion. There's going to be a prayer called out to God, and He's going to hear. He only needs to hear one prayer. That's all it's going to take. It's going to take just one prayer. God hears it. He sends it out to Moses all the way out in Midian. I mean, you know how far Midian was? It was so far they didn't even. I mean, the guy was accused of murder. The Pharaoh had his attention on that murder. Pharaoh wanted to kill him for that murder. And he did commit murder. I mean, there was no question about it. He hid it, he covered it up. Every layer of it was an act of murder. No doubt about it. Moses wrote it himself with the book of Exodus. I think it was Moses that wrote Exodus. Anyway, Moses admitted to it himself. So yeah, that happened. So I fled to Midian. Okay, he flees to Midian. He comes back to Egypt years later, and they've kind of forgot. Another generation has passed. Everybody's older now, and they're kind of not worried about the whole thing or forgotten about it. Um, because it was so long ago and it was such a ridiculous incident that, but that's all it takes. And then next thing you know, it's let my people go. That's all God needs. He just needs one prayer from the coldest, darkest place. Because it is in tyranny that the most desperate poetry comes out of our hearts. It's no longer, Lord, this sucks. It's no longer, Lord, help me. It's like prayers go melodramatic. It's, Lord, forgive me. It's, Lord, what kind of evil is this? Lord, uh, I mean, the bugs are eating under my skin. It just, the prayers start getting more and more graphic. How can they not be? The, the tyranny is graphic. It's very well detailed how much it hurts and why it hurts to be a victim, to be a true victim, not just a professional victim, sitting there turning first world problems into third world crises. Oh, that actually being victimized, legitimately abused. As long as one person is praying, God's hearing it, and He's going to answer it. And His answer is going to be not necessarily, and His answer is not going to be, I forgive you, I love you, do not worry. It's going to be finished. Christ took the pain on the cross. He took all the victimization. He took all the purpose, all the bleeding, all the world, all the sin right there on the cross. And he says, okay, it is finished. It's over. Then he dies. So if it's finished, Christ took the pain. And we can go out there. We can go, okay, Christ came back and he offered forgiveness and peace. Wonderful. Christ took the pain. Why is this person still being victimized? Here's why. Because The tyrant hates the religion. Tyrant hates the grace. They hate the love. They hate that you can forgive somebody when they themselves can't forgive themselves. Look, you don't have to forgive yourself for your own sins. It helps. It'll go a long way, but try to get forgiveness from God first. And then God will teach you how to forgive yourself. See, God will forgive you first by His example. I don't come up there and I don't go up to God when I'm mad at myself. I say, and I say, hey, I'm pretty mad at myself right now. I'll come back when, you know, in order for me to love myself, I have to go to God first, and then God has to offer forgiveness first. I have to be uh, brought to peace first before I can come to peace with myself. That's how people are. We have to be loved first before we can love ourselves. People are like, you have to love yourself first, and then you can, you don't have to be loved by others. So you have to at least be loved by God. You have to recognize that there is a love coming from somewhere. I mean, in order to love yourself, this whole thing about love yourself. I mean, people are like, oh, just love yourself, just love yourself. How are you supposed to do that when you don't have love? That's like saying you have to pay yourself. You have to pay yourself first. You have to pay yourself first. Well, in order for me to have the money to pay for myself, somebody has to give me that money, right? I have to get that money from somewhere. So I would have to like go to work or I'd have to go to somebody and then they would have to pay me. Okay, I owe it to myself to spend $20 today. I owe it to myself to give myself to put $20 into my savings account today. Cool. How am I going to do that? I don't have $20. So I got to go to somebody. Love works in that concept. So just think about that. Um, as he as he gives cliche advice, think about the fact that God is worth more than nature is worth. God is more permanent. His gift is more everlasting than this world, and that whatever pain you're going through in this world, it's only temporary, even unto the old age of death, even when you're decaying. And you have a choice to be grateful. Buenas tardes.